still Black History Month, so y'all know we coming at y'all with some more Black history.
Yes.
So today's episode of Girl What? Well, let me back up. It's your girl, Lomaine.
And this is the eccentric Esther Jade.
And today's episode is Girl What? Reparations, Receipts, and Revelations. Black Genealogy Uncovered.
Yes. I love this part. I love anything that dives into our history to talk about who we were, who we are, and who we can be.
Cause say it loud.
I'm Black and I'm proud.
Ew.
Pew, 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 pew. Rest in peace, James Brown. We have a special guest in the studio, and I want to give him his props. It's Deron Roberson. Deron is a genealogist in the truest sense of words, born in Washington, D.C. with a BA and MA in Foreign Affairs from University of Virginia, or UVA, as us Virginians call it. Deron has spent the last 35 years digging through bloodlines, archives, and family memory to uncover what history tried to forget. He also lived overseas for 10 years, giving him a global perspective on how lineage, power, and place shape who we are. If you think family history is just names on a tree, girl, what? You're about to learn something today.
All right.
Welcome, Deron.
Thank you.
So we're going to jump right into the interview, unless you'd like to say something to our listeners.
No, go ahead, jump in.
Yes. So what first inspired you to get involved with genealogy?
Well, I would assume it's, for most of us, it was probably Roots and what he did. And
Alex Haley, if y'all don't know.
And, that was the first depiction I ever saw on TV of, Black family getting together. And, going back, I found it fascinating that he was able to take his family back where in Africa.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to do that.
Yes.
Haven't done it yet, but I'm working on it.
Listen,
Get there, right.
the fact, hey, look, I'm going to have to help you on this. You got one body here to help you, okay? All right. I love that. I love what you've done with, and people who don't know that Deron is my cousin.
I was wondering when you were going to drop that.
Because, I be keeping stuff close to me, Can't let everybody know everything. But he has done a lot of heavy lifting on finding out where our family has come from, especially before 1865. And for those who didn't know, that is when the Emancipation Proclamation came in, and also the end of the Civil War. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I just loved your work and how much you have found out about our family, and me having I volunteered for like 2 years in a row to be the unofficial genealogist in the family. That was some hard work. I had to put everything on a freaking PowerPoint.
Wow.
And then I had to burn it on CDs, and then we were burning CDs at the family reunion. It was crazy because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
To build that stuff. I had to get pictures. Look, I don't even want to belabor it, but let me just tell you, I have mad respect for you, Deron.
Truth is, you was tired.
Oh, yes. I'm tired.
They couldn't wait when I first came in. They couldn't wait. Go, oh, Darren, here, boom.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They just dumped it all.
No, they threw it at you. They didn't dump it. They threw it at you.
With no apology. Like, take it. We did it.
Oh, yeah, we're done with it. Don't bring it back to us.
We did what you asked. Now here. All right, so going into our next question. How has researching your family's past shaped your own sense of identity?
Well, for me, I always had an identity. I wanted to find out how African we were.
How African are we?
That is good.
So, it's funny. I took the DNA test.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Which site did you use? We were
Ancestry.
Really? Don't they keep your information and put it in the deep state?
Well, they all do. Don't act like they don't.
Oh, they do? I thought there was one that doesn't, and they just. Okay. Y'all hear that?
Whatever.
He said, "Don't drink the Kool-Aid."
Everybody has that fear
Esther.
of privacy, but if you want to know,
you gotta
give up.
Yeah.
You ain't getting it no other way.
Very true.
Well, I don't want to be a snitch on anybody in my family that might have tried to defend themselves righteously and then get charged with defending themselves.
Well, if you want to know, you got to give it up.
That's true. What'd you find out?
Well, as I said, as I've been doing this over the years, you got some more questions, but we'll get to those. But
Igbo.
You need the DNA. One of your questions back down the line is, you need the DNA as Black people. Why? Because the records are pitiful for us.
Yes, it is.
They could care less whether they got our name right. For instance, I was just looking up while I was waiting for you guys. It was my third great grandparents. Their children. They got the list of names. And the 2 daughters are listed as sister and sis.
Wow.
Find out who they are.
Sounds familiar.
How am I going to find out?
That sounds familiar, Deron.
Wow.
How am I going to find out who they are?
Right. Wow.
They didn't care.
Damn.
They only cared before 1860 because then you were money.
Yeah.
Property. They got that right.
Well, we still
They
are
put
property.
your name to it, but they got them numbers right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after 1860,
It was
whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
Wow. Sister and sis. Shout out to sister and
I mean,
sis.
look, we are notorious in the, especially the American South for calling each other by nicknames or middle names.
No question.
Like my father. People didn't know when they kept calling him Big Boy until the day he died, and they're like, "Oh, this is his real." He was a junior. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
My dad, our cousins. My dad, he had 11 aunts. Not one of them went by their real name. So when I started doing this research, I go, Dad, this is blah, blah, blah. He's like, who the hell is that? Like, Dad, that's your aunt. Boy, you don't know what you're talking about.
That sounds about right.
And then you drop the paper in front of me. He goes,
Oh, that's such a gut. Right. Like, that's
I know that face.
Mm.
Right. Like, wow.
Because, parents don't like to be wrong.
Of course.
No.
Of course.
And if you know my dad, he don't know nothing about being wrong.
He's allergic to it.
Well, this is a man's motto. I may not always be right. I may not always be right,
I got
but
my
I'm never wrong.
confirmation.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
So, you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, anytime, I just throw paper at it.
Hard to argue with
The
facts.
evidence.
Can't
Right.
argue with facts.
Yeah.
Facts over feelings, right?
That part for sure.
But I also wonder, why would we go by nicknames? Is that a way to protect us from the white delusion?
I really don't know, because for my great aunts, they all went by their middle name. I'm like,
Yep.
why didn't you
Same
make it
here.
the real name?
Same here.
They
Called me
most
by
of them
my
went
middle
their
name.
names.
My dad would call me by my middle name,
And
and
I think
everybody in
I do think that's
my
a
family
Southern
would call me
thing.
by my middle
Well,
name.
it must be.
It's this other thing because my aunts, like even now, like today is one of my aunt's birthdays actually, and so they're in from North Carolina, so all of them have very country middle names. So her middle name is Gaynell, but when I was little, I couldn't pronounce that, so I would always call her Naynell.
Right?
Even
Yeah,
now, like
yeah,
that's what I call
yeah,
her. I'll be
yeah.
like, if I'm being funny, I'll be like, or like for my birthday, shout out to her. I was like, it's my Naynell's birthday, like so. But definitely, like my mom, her middle name is Lisa. My aunt's middle name is Annette. I think my mom's youngest sister, she was the only one who went by her first name. But also, she's only 17 years older than me. So she, again, being the young, she could kind of tell it was like that generational kind of switch over where it's like, okay, we can call them by their first names. But the first three went by their middle names.
I'm going to do a little research. So next time you and me talk, I can say, hey, I think I have a lead on why we call each other by nicknames or middle names. It's very interesting, It's just very much, it was today years old, maybe a couple years ago when I found out I would just not split the poll. But then I learned sometime later, we don't split the poll because of how we were separated from our families when we were marched off to the auction block, where there was a poll where you would split, one family member would go the other way and you would go the other. So I always thought it was a superstition until I learned about that.
Yeah.
And I think I learned that watching, what's his name? The guy that does all
Gates.
Yes. Louis Gates. Yeah, I learned it on there. Yeah. Speaking of resources, what resources do you recommend to someone just beginning their family history research? What is the first step you recommend for their genealogy journey?
Well, if you don't get killed,
say that part again.
Go to the oldest and find out. See, my problem was both my grandmas wouldn't give you nothing. I mean,
Locked up tighter
zero.
than Fort Knox, huh?
Keep it.
So I went, as I said, I went to the University of Virginia for 6 years. I finally, after that, I was like, oh, I'm going to work on this tree.
Yeah.
First thing I find, my mom's mother, her mother was from Charlottesville.
What? And you were there for 6 whole
Never said
Exactly.
So I do the research and I go, Grandma, it says here that your mama is from Charlottesville. She goes, yes. And boy, don't ask me no more.
Whoa. Cold-blooded like Rick James.
And they don't want to tell you. And I find that fascinating.
Why do you think, did you ever get an answer why they wouldn't share it with you?
No. She went to her grave with it.
Dang.
She wouldn't go tell
Dang, you're supposed to go to the grave with recipes, not lineage.
Hey,
Trauma.
Grandma wasn't giving up nothing. The only thing I could get was confirmations. I only got one question. After that, boy, if you don't get out of my face with that.
She said, stop playing with me.
You playing in my face.
So, if you can, maybe it's a different time now, but, go to the eldest and, get the oral history. Doesn't mean the oral history is going to be exact, but at least it gives you somewhere to start.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another thing, back in the day, if you can afford Ancestry, do it. I found the majority of my stuff through Ancestry. Before, I used to go to the archives and go to the state libraries to look up the fiche.
Library of Virginia, y'all.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, 3/4 of my family is from Virginia. So I spent a lot of time at the library. But that was because I was trying to avoid spending all that money in Ancestry. But once I had to finally break down and do Ancestry, it was worth it in the sense that I found so much more, so much faster. And you network with people that eventually have the same relatives you do. And you find out more information. You get more stories.
It's like a puzzle.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. It's the biggest puzzle. I love puzzles. And this is the biggest puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's still a lot of pieces missing. Still a lot of pieces missing.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. What role do DNA tests play in genealogy today? I think you kind of touched on that. Are they always reliable?
Well, what are your choice? Your choice is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, are they the greatest thing? Like for instance, I have my stats. When I first took my first DNA test, it says I was 74 African, 25% European. But the European part was the entertaining part. It said I was 18% Scandinavian. I'm like,
y'all hear that in the Nordic countries? 18% Nordic.
Yeah. That was almost 10 years ago. Wow. I did the most recent
And I was going to say, what is it saying now?
Now, I'm still 74-25. But 9% is Irish, Scottish, English. 9% of each one. There's no more Scandinavian.
Wow.
What?
Why? Because more and more African Americans are taking the test. They're getting better information. Because when I first took it, you didn't have a lot of African Americans taking the test. But you're getting more and more doing it. Why? Because it is the best way to identify going back, because records are terrible.
Yeah.
I think when we were talking about this, you shared with when you tried to access the records in Essex County, you couldn't go back because there was a fire in the 1980s.
Well, there's
for the records.
Yeah, Well, the biggest...
I think it's a cover-up, but because Tappahannock is one of the oldest slave ports in Virginia.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You got to realize the 1890 census burned down. That's a big one. I can't tell you how many gaps I have because of you have to go from the 1880 to the 1900 census.
Yeah.
You lose people. People die in between. People change names and move on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can't find them again. As you said, in Tappahannock, Essex County, they lost a lot of records. They burned down. That's stuff you never get back.
Psyop.
That's something you never get back.
We're going to talk more about that when we come back from the break. Holla. Welcome back to Girl, What? Podcast, and we're on our segment Love, Baby, and Other Grown Folks Business, and we have our special genealogist guest, Deron Roberson, and we're going to jump into receipts in our DNA. So, all right, we're still here Deron, and he's the lineage keeper and professional finder of receipts. And before the break, we were talking about how family history lives beyond the archive, and now we're getting into the real grown folks business, the receipts written in our DNA. Because baby, some inheritances isn't money, it's memory. So let's get into it.
All right, yes, let's get into it. Y'all buckle up because this is about to be a good ride.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, so Deron, when you dig into family histories, what is the most surprising truth you've uncovered about identity and belonging?
Well, forever we were told, we got Indian in us.
Oh, yes. I heard that so many times growing up.
Oh, we got Indian in us.
Swore on that, didn't
Oh.
What'd you find out, Deron?
Not a drop. Zero.
And you know what? So let me tell you something funny. So for me, because everybody had heard that all the time, I'm like, I ain't got no Native American in me.
Right.
And did mine, and I'm like, oh, we really do.
Oh, you had it?
Right.
You found it?
Yeah, so I was just like, oh.
But you're on my grandfather's side, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they always told me like his Emma or her mother.
The great grandmother that long black hair.
Frank Green was a native, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
And the bottom line,
Nobody.
they all took the test.
Nah.
Then that
Zeros.
so if Frank wasn't indigenous, he must have been black. But how did he get on there before 1860?
But if you looked at, I saw one on Finding Your Roots. He pretended to be Indian because it was better than being black.
And that's one thing I was going to say. I literally, you took it out, like, that was my question. Like, is it something because it was like, they were still higher than black for the totem pole.
Yeah.
Well, anti-black still exists today in Essex County.
Yeah, what?
Y'all heard me.
I don't know if I'd want to pretend to be Indian, but back then it was a better deal.
Yeah.
You just came with a blanket with smallpox.
Well, I mean, it's at least they didn't treat you the way they treated us in the 1860s, 1870s. I mean, come on. Now, they did, put you on a reservation and put you in the middle of Oklahoma, but,
But then they left you alone once they did that.
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
You stayed on the reservation.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, they were looking at new ways to infiltrate the mineral rights and all of that from them by trying to interlope by marriage and all this stuff.
But they people.
That's what happened to Molly's family.
But no, and that's what I'm saying. You literally again took the words off because I was about to say, even from that, topic that we had with her, it was a case of, forcing themselves in. You get what I'm saying? Kind of like that.
And so who we're talking about is a previous guest. She's half indigenous and half white. She's actually from the Osage tribe out in Oklahoma. I don't know if you've seen that new-ish Martin Scorsese movie about the Flower Moon Child with Leonardo DiCaprio.
I saw pieces of it.
Okay, that's actually about her aunt, her great aunt that she was named after. Okay. So, the white delusion's going delusion.
Hey. It's all about
they
money.
know how to do best.
It's all about money.
Not mind their business, that's for sure.
All about the money.
Next.
All right. So, yes, next question. How does knowing your roots change the way we show up in relationships, parenting, and even self-love?
Well, I just wanted, I think we should know our history so we're the ones telling it.
Yeah. Having control of our story.
It being told to us and how they believed it should be.
Yeah.
You should be able to tell your history yourself. And if you ain't done the research, well, how are you going to tell it?
Yeah.
So, that's another reason I like it. I mean, I get to go back. Am I finding every drop of history? No. Because, I'm getting the names, getting all that, but it's the stories you need.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the tougher part. Unless they were in the news or, got newspapers somehow.
Yep.
It's a hard story to find now.
Very true.
I do want to talk about a story in our own family that we actually talked about. And we had a cousin that decided to go up north for a better opportunity. Now, this cousin was married and had kids. And back in the day, you stayed in the vicinity that you were raised in. And so apparently this person had gotten an opportunity. He went up there, left his family behind, changed his name, made a whole new family up there. And then he decided at some point to move back down. Did he move down with his family?
I believe so.
Yeah, the family that he created. Yeah, I wish y'all could see Lo's face. She's like, what the? Yes. Changed her last name, came back, and we could not, nobody, to the last ancestor of that lineage that, like, I guess, like, child had passed away, they would not talk about it.
No.
Because it's very important to know who you're related to, because we ain't trying to get the Habsburg lip and chin.
Yeah.
That part.
That's crazy work. Crazy work.
And nobody would talk about it.
Nope.
Zero.
But that's like, see, and then kind of going back to what you said earlier, like, old people don't want to talk. Why don't y'all want to talk?
Because they have generational trauma that they don't know how to offload and heal from.
But
that's the
Yeah, but
problem.
you only repeat the history if you don't tell it.
Exactly. But when you have low in emotional intelligence, that's what happens, right? When you can't be honest. When you said that your dad could never be wrong, there's a lot of them down there like that.
No question.
There's a lot of families out there, Black American families, that are like that.
That's right.
They have elders like that, where they hold on to something because of their own pain.
Yeah.
And not understanding that sometimes rage actually keeps you closer to truth.
And, you know, I'm in the process of finding a nice little secret on my mom's side.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're going to have to talk about that later.
Right.
Yes. And another thing I think, you know, if I could say that Deron and I, like, well, I'm not like biologically related to anyone on my dad's side. My dad actually adopted me in. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is that what I noticed that the family that aren't as, I don't want to say it's like a biological thing, but I've, like with you, and I have another cousin who isn't biologically related, it's way more open about our family and talking about our history. And I don't want to say it's in our blood, but it almost feels like it's in our DNA for a lot of my paternal family, just to clam up and give nothing, even inside your own family, which I find really kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because there's freedom in that knowledge. And it's crazy, even though we have some family members that are very well educated. Why are you laughing like that?
Well, you know, it is true. And, you know, one thing when you're doing this genealogy, you know, you got to tell the truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't
tell
be
the truth,
hiding
shame the
your
devil.
stuff. Hey, you ain't paying me to do this research. I do it for me.
That's right.
Very true.
You ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the facts. You don't want to hear the facts, don't come.
Well, for descendants of,
you don't get them.
Yeah, for descendants of enslaved Africans, what does reclaiming family history mean in 2026, especially in a world obsessed with DNA kits and quick answers?
Well, you got to do the research. I mean, as I said, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough for Black Americans to do their history because there's not much out there.
Yep.
And, you know, really, you know, a lot of my stuff has been stopped at about the 1860s. Well, you know, some of it hasn't, but a lot of it has, because then you got to figure out the slave schedules. And we are a number on that slave schedule. And it's tough to, one, get the stories, and one, to even find out who they are.
Yeah, very true.
You have to, even though you can find a number and find the age and all that, you're still guessing. There's no, this is definite. Because they didn't want you to know your history.
Yep.
They didn't want you to be able to go back to Africa or go back to wherever you were. They didn't want you. They wanted you to get on that farm and get to work. Don't ask no questions.
Yep.
I don't need to tell you nothing. You just work.
Well, immigrant families often juggle multiple cultures. How does genealogy help preserve these stories for future generations?
I don't know if DNA helps that, but it's you really want to do it to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you saw the Super Bowl.
No, I didn't watch.
You didn't watch?
I'm anti.
You're anti-Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't watch.
Well, I watched it for the football.
Okay.
But he was able, you know, I didn't, you know, my wife wanted to watch it, and he was able to bring out the culture.
Yes.
Oh, you mean
culture.
Bad Bunny?
Oh,
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And for a record, you know, they
record.
fought to kick this man off the thing. He brought out all the history of Latin America
Yeah.
in 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
Can't be mad at that.
Can't be mad at that.
And I was going to say, I told people, like, because of course you have those ignorant people that are saying, I couldn't understand what he was saying. I said, most of us didn't understand what he was saying. But the story that he showed was very impactful, and it was clear. Like,
this is where critical thinking is very important. If you don't have it, don't blame other people. Because you can go out and find it for yourself.
Exactly.
Always jealous at what someone else got when you can just go. It's like the library is free, y'all. Mm-hmm. The library is free. Information is free.
That's right. And that's where I did most of my research in the beginning. I had to go to the library.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of work.
I mean, it usually is, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But all you have to do is sign up for a library card.
Yeah.
And that's free.
Yeah.
Well, and also I could go to the library and use Ancestry and not have an account.
Yeah.
So I still could do my research there in Ancestry, but I didn't have to have an account.
Gotcha.
To me, it was worth having the account because then I became the, quote, historian of the family, family tree. So I needed it. Now, it ain't cheap. You're looking at about $229 or 6 months.
So I have a question. When you found out you were, 70-ish% African, do you know what tribe?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know the tribes. Well, they kind of gives you a look.
Yeah.
But of the 74, it's now 30% Nigeria.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people, but
when it first was out, I was less than 1% Nigerian.
Oh,
that's what you're saying about having more black. I feel like I should do it, but I'm a little scared.
Well, as I said, everybody's scared. My mom and dad did the 3. I didn't do the 23andMe, but my mom and dad did. Well, now they're close to bankruptcy or in bankruptcy, and now they talk about, well, are they going to be able to sell that information, or what are they going to be able to do with that? I understand.
Yeah.
But you got to weigh that with, do you really want to know where you're from?
Yeah.
I mean, there is no other way.
Well, what I want is reparations. So
wait. How long you been waiting for them?
I'm not waiting. Listen.
Well, wait. No, you're waiting.
No, I'm going to take it.
You're going to take it?
Yeah.
You're going to get that 40 acres in a
I'm going to make sure my people get it and me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You ain't the first, and it ain't going to be the last.
No. Hey, I might be the last. You never know. Where we are in this timeline, there's a chasm that is opened up where anything is possible. Well, let me tell you something, Deron. Maybe you don't know this about me. Whenever I put my mind to it, I always get what I aim for. Always. It might not be a straight line. But I'll zigzag my way into it. Yes. Listen, and people, and just so y'all know, reparation isn't just a monetary payment. It's also in our education and our mental health, because the Black community and indigenous cultures here in America have been obliterated by what people like to call the white supremacy, but I call it white delusion, because it is a delusion. Because we're all brown, It's just that one sector of it is very insecure because they have a mutated or a recessive gene. I mean, we can't help that, but With that being said, Deron, what's the most surprising or difficult discovery, and maybe you've already answered this, you've come across in your own or someone else's genealogy journey?
Well, as I said, I'm working on one for my mom's side. Mm-hmm. It's going to turn out that it's going to leave another mystery, but the mystery is my grandfather. He had no father on his birth certificate, and it was a dead end, brick wall. Couldn't get past it. Well, another lady, through Ancestry, we knew we were cousins. We just didn't know how because of DNA. I knew it had to be on my dad's side, grandfather's side. Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that she paid a genealogist to find out. Turns out the last name is Lee.
Oh my God.
So my mom's side of the family is named Lawson.
Okay.
Bottom line is, ain't no Lawson to be found.
Wow.
So the mystery is going to be, once I figure out which of the 7 brothers is his real dad, where'd the Lawson come from? Don't know.
Whew. How old was she when she had your mother?
No, grandmother. My grandfather he was born in 1910. She must have been maybe 19.
So she's still relatively young.
Sure. But she didn't list the father.
There could be Clint in D.C. That could have been one number thing I can think of was a sexual assault.
Well, that too. But it's going to be figuring out.
Or a married man.
Figuring out which brother, because there's 7 brothers in this family.
Well,
He belongs to.
I know you're going to solve it because I already know you. But we're going to talk more when we come back from break. Well, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. Welcome back to Girl What Podcast. We take all kinds here. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, God.
Welcome in. We welcome all. Okay. We're jumping right into our third and final segment. The group chat got deep and legacy ledger. Who's paying the debt? So, yes, the group chat has gotten deep. We're still in conversation with Deron Roberson, who's been tracing family lines for over 3 decades. And now we're asking the uncomfortable questions. When history leaves a bill, who's expected to pay it? And what gets passed down, what gets buried, and what still shows up with interest. Grab your notes. This part matters.
All right, Deron.
Click, boom.
Do you see genealogy playing a role in conversations about generational wealth and economic justice for communities impacted by slavery and displacement?
Wow. It's hard to say that it will because we won't even tell. They won't even tell us
each other. Yeah.
So what is DNA going to do for that? I don't know. I can't imagine if they wouldn't tell us. Even if they knew there was a pot of gold, they still wouldn't tell us.
You think so?
Yes.
We gotta make them.
They wouldn't tell us.
Oh, you talking about our relatives?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the older people passing down information that maybe lead to that pot of gold.
Yeah.
Deron, I wish I was around. I would have made somebody tell it. I gotta wait. Look, I got a superpower. You
got a superpower?
Yeah, I do. I make people tell me stuff all the time.
Okay.
Even strangers.
You'd have a hard time with Grandma, boo. I'm just going to tell you. Grandma had 19 grandchildren. She could give 2 squats about what you want.
It's not as hard as you think. Not as hard as you think.
Blink your eyes a couple of times.
Okay.
With the political debates around who belongs, how can genealogy help immigrants and descendants of enslaved Africans reclaim their narrative and assert their place in history? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if we used the DNA, I mean, you got to know how to use the DNA.
Yeah.
You got to make the DNA work for you.
Right.
That's right.
They made the DNA work for them.
Yep.
You got to know how to make the DNA work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be willing to find out the hard things.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't willing to say the hard things.
Yeah.
Are they willing to find out the hard things? Mm-hmm. As I say, I do it because I want to know.
Yeah.
I can't be worried about feelings. Feelings get in the way. I'm trying to find out info.
Facts over feelings, Durham.
Facts. I need facts.
That's right.
I need facts. So it could, but you got to be able to embrace it and use it to your advantage.
Just a little bit on that. I think that it's really important for genealogy for this, to rightfully claim, to affirm that we built this country.
Oh, there's no question.
Our blood, our sweat, our bodies, our missing relatives, they're all a part of that.
Just because we didn't give him credit, we've been here longer than most of these people.
Yes.
So to follow up with that, do you see genealogy becoming a form of resistance or advocacy for immigrant communities under restrictive immigration laws?
We getting real uncomfortable in here.
Yeah, well, if you're Mexican American, do you get to go back and say in 1846 my family was in Texas? Before it was Texas? Do I get to claim that land?
Well, I think I want to clarify is that Mexican is a nationality. It's not a racial group. Actually, most of these people are indigenous. So that's what I think is hilarious. You trying to kick out indigenous people.
Well, there's no question about that. But, but before Texas was born, it was Mexican.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And their DNAs go back that far. Mm-hmm. You go into San Antonio, you're going to find a whole bunch of Mexican Americans that come from descendants from Mexico, going back to the early 1800s. Mm-hmm. You're going to get that. Same with us. I mean, we've been here since the 1700s.
Yep.
Do we get credit for it?
No one's illegal on stolen land.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Tell your friends, tell your friends.
I mean,
Say it
the
again.
Indians are the only ones that were, here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the only ones that are not immigrants.
That's right. That's right.
We were forced to come here, so.
That's right.
What systemic gaps like destroyed archives or biased record keeping make it harder for marginalized communities to trace their roots and how you overcome them? Now, we did touch on this a little bit. We talked about the records in Essex County burning down in 1980. How did that pivot your research, family research?
Sometimes you have to make go deviation. You can't just go straight line. Sometimes you got to find all the brothers and sisters and see if you can work your way back.
Yeah.
Because as we said before, most of the time they didn't move far from each other. Mm-hmm. So if you can find one, hopefully you can go around the corner and come back and find them again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you got to do that. The other thing you got to realize is, just because you know the spelling of your grandma's name or your great-grandma's name, don't mean they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time, I can tell you that most of my relatives' names were spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Weren't even close. Because they didn't care.
Yeah.
They just put a name in there, whatever. But you got to go, you can't just say, oh, man, they're not here because it's not spelled the same way. So, you got to make some guesses.
Yeah.
That part. That's very true.
Yes.
All right. So our last question for you. Looking back, what was the biggest assumption you carried into genealogy? And what did you learn that completely shifted your perspective? I wish y'all could see him.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not an uncomfortable look, but it's like, oh God.
Grumpy man
I
reaction.
guess the assumption that I assumed when I first started is that they were going to be accurate. You putting stuff on official records, and you don't care what you put down. I assumed that if they were sent out here from the U.S. government, they were going to be accurate.
True.
Not even close. Now, was it their fault? Was it our fault for not telling them everything? Or making sure they wrote it down right? Half the time, were we able to spell? You got to realize
Well, also that comes into play is if you coming from that area, right? You know that there's already a distrust of white people, but there's also a distrust of black people that aren't from your community.
Yep.
So could that be a factor that played in it, that you saw someone that was a stranger and you didn't think,
tell them the whole
based
deal.
on what stuff that has happened, right? Even looking at Loving versus Virginia, whereas my grandmother, who's married to my grandfather, who that's how we're connected is through my grandfather. She was half white. She lived in Essex County. The Lovings were literally, you could spit and it'd be right there because Caroline County is like right up against where I grew up. There was really nothing different except for a county line where they got ran out. But my grandmother and their family, they lived there like forever and never had that issue. And I always wondered that, like, why were the Lovings targeted when you have,
same thing happening.
low white married to a black woman? I thought that was like insane. Like that brought up a lot of questions. Like, were the Lovings really targeted? Like, why were they targeted? And like, why didn't? I don't know if you ever grew up in Tappahannock at all. Okay, I did, visited. And I could see. There could be harassment, but because of there's such an injection of the white delusion already automatically into the culture there, white people don't have to put their hands on anybody or do anything directly because it's already there enacted within through colorism and saying the whole thing of, oh, I have native blood, and it's very much misogynistic as well. Yeah. So you see that a lot in the church and things like that, and from what I've seen, they haven't changed that much. You would think some things change, but the more things change, more things stay the same.
Very true. Which is unfortunate.
As I said, I visited.
Yeah.
So I was a visitor. And that's another reason why I wanted to do my family tree. Because, we'd go down there in the summer times. And I'm looking at all these people going, well, how they related to me?
Yep. Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And that was another reason I started this, because I wanted to know I want to know how, Billy and Bobby and Joey, how they related to me.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever sit down and talk to my grandmother to get any questions answered?
No.
She's still over in yeah, she's still over in Warsaw. I don't, she does have Alzheimer's or dementia. But I'm sure you could get some more information out of her because she used to love to talk in the day. She had what I call the hustle hotline.
Yeah, she's one of those I never got to.
Yeah.
But
that's what Sandy got some information from her. But my grandmother's not. She's married into the family. Yeah. But she knows a lot.
But she said that she look.
Hustle hotline. How are you today?
But I think it's hilarious just knowing that's where you're from. But yeah.
So quick story. She never knew where I was from until was it July of last year?
Was it?
Yeah, because the wedding was in August.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she invited me to be her +1 to a wedding. And so she like sent me a picture of the invitation. I said, "You playing with me?" The wedding is at this. It used to be a winery. It's like where in Hustle where the post office is, just up the street. Like where there's it was like a little country store.
Okay.
So if you're going like past the country store towards the woods, there's like a winery that used to be there, a vineyard.
There's a vineyard, but it wasn't a winery. I think if I know the one you're talking about, they used to sell their wines to other wineries, their grapes to other wineries.
So now it's been sold, and they use it as a event venue. Oh, okay. And that's where they were having the wedding. I said, "You got to be joking me. This is literally where I live. I grew up." And I'm not even lying. When we got there, it felt like whole nature was welcoming me back. Because I grew up there. I was climbing trees, getting lost in the woods for hours. Not really lost, but doing my own thing. And it was just crazy because it didn't really change. It was still the same, but the feel was different because when I was younger, you didn't have outsiders coming in to have a wedding or anything like that. But it was just such kismet to do that. And I was just like, this is crazy that we're going to go to a wedding on a former vineyard now. And I took her by my grandmother's house and where I grew up, where my Aunt Dot and her husband lived. And there's I think her sister and brother-in-law lived behind there, but they, how they would have their country homes. They would be up north in DC or Maryland.
And then come down.
Yeah. But the people that bought my house, my childhood house, they literally built a 10-foot high chain link fence.
Keep the people's out.
Yeah, but they're Hispanic, and I'm just like, how are you gonna move here with all these black people, and then you basically build a prison for yourself? And you're in the country. That don't make no sense. I was like, man, Lauren, I don't get to show you my childhood bedroom. Nothing. But it's crazy. It's crazy to go back there. I don't know if you've gone back yet.
I visit, I go back and, because my great uncle still has property there.
Mm-hmm. In Hustle?
In Hustle.
Ooh, where?
On the main road.
On Rosemount?
Yeah.
Is it close to my grandma's house?
See, I'm not sure where your grandma's house is.
She's, where, oh God, we'll talk later. We'll talk later.
He still has property, and my other aunt does too. But she just recently, last Sunday, died.
Oh wow.
Romaine, she was 99 years old.
My grandmother lived right next to Romaine.
Okay. Well, Romaine.
The Henrys.
Uncle Sonny was right next to.
Yeah, there's a brand new house, and on the other side, that's my grandmother's house.
Okay, well, that's where he lives.
Oh my gosh.
Romaine just
we
was 99.
I did not know that. My grandmother's about to be 98 in at the beginning of March. We'll talk more. Okay. But Deron, we want to thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story of being the unofficial genealogy of my family. We shared a lot of wonderful information that I feel that our listeners could use. And now we're going to run into our That's It. Lauren, what did we learn today?
Yes. Thank you again, Deron, for coming and letting us know about, the genealogy training, how we can get on it. But, in our first section was Statistis. We talked about roots and revelations, genealogy's role in identity. And then in Love, Baby, and Other Grown Folks Business, we just talked about receipts in our DNA. And then we wrapped it up with the group chat got deep, where Deron, helped us with the legacy ledger. And then, who's paying the debt? So, definitely, again, Deron, thank you so much for, coming down and sharing this opportunity with us. As you all know, we'll have the information, the specifics that were talked about during the episode in our YouTube description. If you have not yet, like, subscribe, and follow. We want to thank y'all again so much for listening to us this Saturday. Enjoy the rest of it, and that's it.
Happy Black History Month.
Stay connected to Girl What podcast by following us online. You can follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Girl What Podcast. That's GURLWHET PODCAST. We'd love to keep in touch with you. Come on, keep talking with us. That's what we do, right? Mm-hmm. So we have our, reflections. If you have any questions, comments, or you yourself want to reflect on anything you've heard us talk about, please don't be afraid to hit us up. Again, you can hit us up in our DMs on Instagram, or if you want to comment under one of our YouTube posts, you're more than welcome to do so. Again, both of those handles are Girl What Podcast, GURLWHET PODCAST.
And you also have the option to leave us a voice memo in our DMs, or leave us a voice message at 804-476-0905. Again, that number is 804-476-0905. And with your permission, we may feature it in a future episode. Your voice helps us shape meaningful dialogue on Girl What. So remember to stay in community. Remember to stay bold. And girl, keep talking.